Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? My 10-year-old son started his 30-team NBA bracket tournament. Like, he put a little bracket together on a piece of paper on 2K, ran through it. And then you should have seen the look on his face today as he finished his bracket. And then I told him, hey, buddy, you got to redo that because LUKA Doncic just got traded for Anthony Davis. And he was shocked and awe whenever I told him that. So good luck, buddy, starting that all over again. Maybe we'll wait till Friday to do that after everything really clears with the deadline.
It's just completely crazy to me. Like, it's completely baffling, shocking. I don't even know how to put into context almost what this is. Like, that's what I'm writing today for The Athletic, is literally just like, I said this last night on the show with Andrew. We have never seen a player this good in his prime be traded at the deadline before.
Without
not even a question.
Well, and he didn't request it, right? Like, even a guy that was requested maybe hasn't happened, but there was nothing here until last night when the tweet hit.
No, look, like like some of this stuff, like I said last night, but like there was no indication of this. Like, I had gotten a text about like a Dallas move, but the impression was it was like, oh yeah, like Maxi Kleber is getting traded, like, for stuff. You know what I mean? And Maxi's in this deal, but like, it wasn't Luka. It's out of this world insane.
All you have to tell people is everybody's first reaction was Shams got hacked. Everybody's first reaction to reconcile what they were seeing was that Shams got hacked. And it was funny because I thought, I was like, how much do you think you would have to pay Shams to send out a tweet that was wrong? Like, to just fool all of us because it would only last like 10 minutes. And then somebody would be like, actually, no, this isn't right. But I'm right. Like, I even went there. Like, what if somebody got to Shams and like paid him a whole bunch of money just to like trick all of us or whatever? It was he had to send a tweet that said it wasn't a joke. That's all we have to know, is like, that's how unbelievable this news coming across was. And I also love that they did it at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. Like, they couldn't do it earlier in the day or wait till this morning, or it's not like there was a football game today. Like, they could have easily just made it the entire Sunday for all of us. So
yeah, it's crazy to me that we're here. It's completely crazy to me here. The way that this went down, and this is where we'll transition into Nico Harrison's press conference, right? Because I think that's now like the differentiating step that we didn't have last night, right? Was Nico's answer on some of this. Like, Nico released a statement to Tim McMahon where he said, like, I believe defense wins championships and everything. He reiterated that today, as we'll hear. We're going to bring up some Nico Harrison press conference on the screen in a second here and talk through all of that. It eludes me. It's completely and utterly dumbfounding that Nico Harrison decided to do this. Like, I even went through like trying to rationalize it last night, right? I tried to decide, okay, like, let's stop and think here why Dallas could be doing this. Let's at least consider the alternative for a second. But the more that I think about it, and the more that I've now seen the reasoning for Nico Harrison and what he has stated here, it's hard for me to fathom, I guess, is where I'm at. Because look, there could be things he's not saying. Like, I completely acknowledge that. And I don't want to act like the public sentiment here that Nico Harrison is stating is exactly what's going on. But we did get a couple of answers here that I think are important to at least talk about, and we'll play them in a second. But watching Nico's press conference, what was your thought?
I took the same path of you, where it was like, okay, this is shocking. And then it went to, how can I rationalize this, right? Because everybody went to the Mavs got fleeced. This is stupid. Why would you ever trade Luka? And so my instincts are, well, I don't want to just fall in line with everybody else. Is there a different take? Is there a different path? Is there something else that I can see here? And I think there's some things, but ultimately it's like this is 100 out of 100 times for the Lakers. And I know you already did this.
Oh yeah.
And you just can't get to it. And so then it's like, then I do what you do. Why? What? The only thing that could rationalize it for me is I don't even know that like team building, team construction is the pitch. I know that's what he's going for.
No, it has to be that he said he wasn't signing the extension.
It's got to be something with Luka off the court, right? Whether it's contract or they're tired of his stuff, whatever that stuff is, right?
Or you have to be willing to say, and Nico like went out of his way at this press conference, which is a clip I didn't pull, but like he said, look, I'm never going to talk bad about somebody.
He specifically said that, yeah.
He did like kind of follow that with saying like, look, with the culture we're trying to build here, there are guys who fit into the culture and there are guys that add to the culture.
Correct.
And the guys we acquired are guys that add to the culture. Like that you could construe as a statement comparatively to Luka. I didn't. Like I take Nico at his word that like he's not speaking terribly about Luka Doncic, right? But you could easily say that. And yeah, like he said that like there are levels to this. Like Sam Davison in the comments is like, yeah, he said I'm not going to talk about people, but there's levels to it. Yeah, totally. That's kind of what it seems like here. But I feel like if you're going to do this, you kind of have to give the reason for it. And if it's just like, look, we feel like as an organization, we were ready to move on from Luka Doncic because of, there were, myriad off court things that have occurred. There are things behind the scenes that have happened. Like, okay, like if you want to say that, that's fine. I still would disagree with it, honestly, unless it's something like catastrophic. But everything I know about Luka is not like, he's not like a bad dude. He just is a guy that, he's not a bad teammate. Like he's not like, it's not like a Jimmy Butler thing. You know what I mean? Like from what I know, like Luka is not a bad teammate. Like if you see the interviews from pregame today with the Mavericks, like they're all kind of in a state of shock. It feels like to me, like PJ Washington didn't play today. So he did pregame avail. Like Najee Marshall did pregame avail and like literally said like, it doesn't feel real. Right. So to me, it had to either be that, which it seems like it's not that. And from what I know, like it wouldn't be that. Or you would have to believe that like his body is just not going to age well. Which like imagine being the person that trades Luka Doncic and pisses him off and like makes him decide to.
Not only that, you trade him to the one guy who may actually teach him to do things. If Luka's not doing things the right way, which listen, I have no insight to know, but you trade him to the one guy who is his superior in terms of career arc and has spent more money to play as long as possible to teach him how to. If there's one guy Luka's going to listen to, you just shipped him to that guy to play with him. You put him in the best possible scenario to maximize his career. It's not like you, with all due respect, you didn't send, I won't say a team because I could say the one behind me. So you send him to LeBron, and LeBron's the one guy that may get him like, Luka, if you want to be one of the greatest, this is how you do it. Like Nico may have done him a favor in regards to that if he truly wasn't taking care of his body.
And on the former side of what I said, we know that Luka didn't ask out because Mark Stein said as much last night. Mark Stein said they were on the track to getting this 5-year, $345 million extension done. And oh, by the way, Nico Harrison said it today as well. So
yes, that's okay. I figured you were going to play it. I wanted to touch on this, but
it wasn't really like a point. I think it was like, how do we make our team better? There's some unique things about his contract that we had to pay attention to. There's other teams that were loading up. That he was going to be able to decide make his own decision at some point of whether he wants to be here or not, whether we want to supermax him or not, or whether he wants to opt out. So I think we had to take all that into consideration and feel like we got out in front of what could have been a tumultuous summer.
Nico, did you have any indication from him or his representation that he was going to opt out or not take the extension or anything like that?
No, not at all. Not at all. Nothing verbally that would lead me to believe that.
Why would the Supermax be a difficult decision on your end?
Oh, no, it's not a matter of it being a difficult decision. It's a matter of, once you put that out there, they accept or they don't. And then at that point, you're on the clock.
So that's a confusing statement.
I didn't. This was the part of the press conference I did not understand. Even if I don't agree with some of the other stuff he said, Sam, maybe I'm just dumb, but I got lost in his answers with that.
I also got lost in his answers there because he's basically admitting there to let's take him at his word, right? Even taking him at his word, he's admitting to try to solve a preemptive problem that might not exist.
Yeah.
Right.
And one that LUKA never expressed in his own words, said LUKA never expressed that verbally.
Like, did he, express non-verbally that he might not want to be there? Like, is that maybe the subtext there?
Maybe there's tea leaves in the way LUKA goes about things that he's unhappy. But yeah, I got very confused because it was like, we would pay him. We don't think he would walk, or we don't have signs of that. But I just felt like it danced around and I got lost in his answers, and I was very unclear with that part of the press conference.
Yeah. To say that, like, yeah, we never got like a statement that he wasn't going to sign the Supermax. And then to follow that up by saying, yeah, but like, we put it out there and then there's like a decision to be made. Well, you make the decision after he doesn't sign the Supermax. Like, you can just say like, hey, and look, like there's an argument to where you say, okay, we're going to get out ahead of this, right? We're going to move him before we have to get into any of this, right? We're going to get out ahead of this and decide, you know what? We don't want to be the team that's left holding the bag in the summer where LUKA is not signing the Supermax extension, which, by the way, like if I'm Nico Harrison, I am 1000% calling that bluff. Like, if you feel like he's not going to sign the Supermax, that's a bluff that I am just like, okay, you turned down $116 million
because of the amount of money LUKA could potentially leave on the table by not. And that, to be clear, that would be something that would happen if he was still in Dallas, that would have been offered this offseason.
Correct.
Where he would still have 1 year under contract and a player option, which he probably could turn down and go, but like you would still have him under contract for a year where, to your point, if he turns it down, why are they in trouble? Like, does he think they lose too much leverage?
I think that's
he thought they would have lost leverage
idea that he's hinting at.
Okay.
Is that they would lose too much leverage. But here's the next clip. You never tried to create leverage in this deal. So here we go. Next clip.
Discussions with any other teams besides the Lakers about this deal?
No, and I'd like to give Rob Pelinka a lot of credit. Trades, you guys have been around here. Trades don't happen at the smallest level without stuff getting out. And Rob and I were able to have, really intense conversations over the course of, 3-4 weeks that started out as a coffee that, was more, hey, would you ever, I don't know, would I? Let me think of, and then it built upon that. And, we kept it between us. We had to keep it tight. J Kidd didn't know about it. But J Kidd and I are aligned, and we talk about archetypes and we talk about the culture that we want to create. So I know the type of players that he likes without actually talking to him. Hey, would you like, so I know that. And J Kidd coached them when they won a championship. So I think when you're aligned with your coach like that, I know the type of players that he likes. And so I felt good about it making sense to where we're trying to go.
So there, he is just straight up admitting we never talked to anybody else about this. We never talked to another team about this. So, in my opinion, you can't be worried about leverage and, us losing all of this leverage in a potential deal if we try to sign him in the summer to the Supermax, which, by the way, he would have to turn down $345 million as opposed to the extension that he's eligible now, which, I'll continue to break that down a little bit more.
In Texas with no state taxes as well, right? Like that was
in Texas, no state income taxes.
Yeah, I shouldn't say no taxes, no state income tax. That's specific, important.
It's crazy. Like, it would be insane to do that. It would be entirely something new that we have not seen before for him to turn that down.
On top, he's on a team that is built and constructed very well for him, and a team that is coming up. Like, again, I think it's just important to note we're not talking about a disgruntled star who the team has failed to build around or failed to make moves or doesn't have a second star or they went and got him 2 lob threats because they knew he needed. So, like, why would he be unhappy around that organization? Unless, again, there's something we're not aware of. There's no reason to think he wouldn't sign for that money with that organization the way they've tailor-made the team to him.
Let's get to a quick little note from Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action. There are over 10 million members. Like I said a second ago, they invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks always puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. We are big fans of Prize Picks here. We absolutely love the app and what they're doing for the daily fantasy sports scene. Download the app today and use code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use that code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So, in Grape Ape here in the YouTube comments brings up the next point I was going to bring up. It's not actually quite 116. It's $116 million guaranteed that he could have signed for immediately, like this summer. That is the difference between the deal he can sign for this summer with the Mavs versus the Lakers. But if he structures it properly and does like a 2+1 this summer, he can end up making it so it's only like a $50 million difference with LA versus Dallas in terms of the way that this gets structured. Again, though, what this underestimates, saying it's only 50, is the state income tax in Dallas as compared to in California, where it is actually like a much bigger number in terms of take-home money that Luka would be taking home as opposed to, quote unquote, only $50 million, right?
Yeah.
So again, like, I think that the number gets up to, like, honestly, I think it's like around 100 total still. Even so, like, it's right around there with the income tax number and everything. So it's an insane amount of money that he would have to turn down, which is why I am 100% calling this bluff. Like, that's what it comes down to. If it was that he might turn down our Supermax extension,
they miscalculated their own leverage.
Yes, 100%. And people can say like Luka's going to get 100 million from sponsors in LA. I mean, like, compared to Dallas is also an enormous city, like, nationwide. I think he's definitely going to make more with the Lakers, like, internationally and everything. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's absolutely, he will make more on the endorsement market with the Lakers, but it's not going to be like 100 more. It's going to be more. Like Luka loses money here, I think, for sure, is what this comes down to. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy. I still haven't heard why they would do this, right? And this is
the monetary thing doesn't make sense, right? Like that shouldn't have been a fear for them, I guess, is the point with this part of it.
Yeah. Okay. And now finally, let's get to this piece of it from Nico's press conference.
What would you just say to fans who are frustrated about this move?
I'm sorry they're frustrated, but it's something that we believe in as an organization. It's going to make us better. We believe that it sets us up to win not only now but also in the future. And when we win, I believe the frustration will go away.
Nico, what was the conversation like with Patrick Dumont when we introduced this idea to him?
The first time he laughed at me. No, I mean, Patrick, he's the owner. Obviously, he's the ultimate decision maker, but he entrusts in J. Kidd and I to lead this team, and he's putting the trust into us. And then, obviously, you got to get judged on the performance that you've done as a leader. And at some point, if it doesn't work out, then I'll be judged for that.
So, couple things there that were interesting to me. Like, so for people who don't know who Patrick Dumont is, so Patrick Dumont is the governor of the Dallas Mavericks. I said this last night, but like obviously like Miriam Adelson and the Adelson family bought the Mavericks last night, and I couldn't remember there was like a son involved. Patrick Dumont is the son-in-law, I believe, of Miriam Adelson, who runs the Dallas Mavericks as the team's governor, owner, main person that is like the go-between. He's not even the go-between, like he is the ownership representative for the Dallas Mavericks. And the fact that he laughed at you when you brought this up, A, is really interesting to me. But B, I do almost like kind of want to give Patrick Dumont some credit here in like that group of ownership, assuming that they aren't like skimping on money. And it is important to note that they do get out of the luxury tax in this trade. I don't want to like sideline that entirely. But like, from what I know, like people around the league, like don't think that they're going to skimp on the team. Like that's the impression I've gotten. Like there's nothing there. So assuming that Patrick Dumont was just like, you know what? We've empowered really smart people. Nico Harrison made deft moves last trade deadline to get us to the finals. Let's trust in him. Okay, sure. Like I think that's like, we always talk about meddling owners and everything.
Sure.
That's the kind of owner that you want, in my opinion, as a guy who's just going to trust your front office group. Now, the fact that he like laughed at this though to start kind of says a lot, right?
Nico tried to make two jokes in that press conference and neither hit. And it was very awkward. I think he started the press conference trying to make a joke about something, maybe the way Jason Kidd handled it when he told J. Kidd or something. And it was like, no, nobody, it is interesting, right? If that's truly what happened, but then you put yourself in the ownership. It's like, this is Luka. This is the face of our franchise and a top 4 or 5 player in the NBA. And you're asking us to trust you to trade him. And I'm kind of with you. There's part of me that's like, hey, you put these basketball people in place to make these decisions, and people get pissed all the time that owners don't do this or they get in the way or whatever. Like, and I assume part of the conversation was like, Nico, if this doesn't work, you're getting fired. And I would assume Nico's smart enough that I'm sure he is to know that if this doesn't work, he's going to be without a job. So I think Nico's wrong making this calculation. There's part of me that respect, because ultimately here's what I think. I think Nico, he thinks that bringing in AD and all of this is going to make them better. Like I can believe nothing else other than he believes that this defensive identity, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of Kyrie like trust in this as well, because he's going to have a huge offensive load. Whatever it is, I believe Nico believes that. Like I kind of respect that. He has to know everybody's laughing at him right now. So the resolve to do this is somewhat respectable, even though I completely disagree with the decision and in the decision-making process and all of that.
Yeah. I disagree most with the look, I would never have traded Luka Doncic. I think it's completely baffling to trade Luka Doncic.
100%.
Like, I just want to say this from the jump.
Yeah.
What I disagree most with is the process, because at the end of the day, the Mavericks have very clearly made the choice to do this secretively, which was just like never a good idea, in my opinion.
Okay, so can we go down that road then? Because I find this
Sure.
I find this part of the conversation interesting, and so I want to be clear as well. I don't think this is a good trade for the Mavs. The Lakers should do this trade 100 times out of 100. And I have some Lakers questions too that I think are fun and interesting as well about that roster and where they land and all of that. But Luka Doncic is a top 4 player in the NBA, in my opinion. But I want to do this real quick. So Sam, I want you to tell me what better player could they have gotten in a vacuum that's available right now? Okay.
So are we talking better trade asset or better basketball player?
Let's say that Nico and J Kid's goal is to win games this season, to continue to be competitive and all of that. Because they better want to do that because they didn't get draft picks and they got Anthony Davis. Essentially, my point is, I feel like a lot of people are. Let's just do it. Would the Nuggets trade Jokic?
No.
Would the Thunder trade SGA?
No.
Would the Bucks trade Giannis?
No.
Would the Celtics trade Tatum?
No.
Would the Spurs trade Wemby?
No.
Anthony Davis was one of the next names on our All-NBA list.
We went through this last night with Andrew. I do think that AD is the best name right now that they could have gotten. But two things here, obviously. First, you're betting an immense amount on Anthony Davis's health. And this is something we didn't talk about last night. You have Anthony Davis, who can be injury prone. You have Kyrie Irving, who you and I both think should be an all-star this year.
He's been incredible.
Incredible this season, and has been incredible since he's been in Dallas.
Yes, even last year.
Honestly, is frankly probably the most underrated player in the NBA at this point because of everything that comes with him. Everything does come with him. And you're doing this deal clearly without informing him, would be my guess. And you don't know how he's going to react to this either.
Because what made Kyrie great in Dallas, the reason I came to appreciate Kyrie's game, I guess again, was that he was able to play off of Luka and then be the guy when Luka wasn't on the floor. Now it's 36 minutes of you be the primary initiator. I know AD is offense but he's a little bit more of a play finisher. Yes, you can run some isolations but this is a lot more offensive load, which then means, okay, what is Kyrie going to do defensively? And I'm sure you guys talked about all of this. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to justify the trade. I'm just like, okay, if this is what Nico thought he wanted to do, what was the better trade package that he could have gotten when it comes to just like getting the best possible player to add to this roster for right now? Because the age thing is one of the biggest things. Like Luka being 25 and AD being 31 is.
But the other reason that the age thing is important is that they don't have access to any of their own draft picks from 2027 until 2030. Like, they owe hilariously in 2028 Oklahoma City a first round pick swap that could really pay dividends when Anthony Davis is 38 years old or not 38, he'd be 36, I think, and Kyrie would be 35 or vice versa, whatever it is. Like, that's a big factor. I think Charlotte gets one of these for PJ Washington. Like, it might be like top 5 or something protected. It's really, really crazy. It is really genuinely crazy that this is a thing.
You know what's funny is I listened to you and Tim the other day, and that was awesome stuff with the De'Aaron Fox stuff. And you guys brought up some interesting things. What was interesting in that was when you guys talked about the top guys in the league, and I think this applies to this trade. When you talked about the gap in the top guys in the league to the next tier, because you were talking about like the difference between Fox and the 9th best player compared to the 9th best player to the 5th best player, whatever. And to me, that's where this breaks down is like Luka's probably in a tier of 4 or 5 guys at the top for me when healthy, and AD's not. So even if AD is the 10th best player in the NBA, the difference in tiers is what matters to me in this situation. I thought it was interesting because you guys were talking about it in a completely different context. And then it very much applies here because as good as I think AD is, he's not Luka. And that obviously, and on top of the age, let's say they're going to trade Luka. Would you have wanted them to go get like, is there a different, they're going to trade Luka. I'm telling you that. Would you rather they took a different approach then, like young players and draft capital or something like that?
Yeah. I don't think an Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving duo is good enough to win a title over like Oklahoma City or Boston or whoever, right? Like that's just my opinion.
Or maybe the Lakers,
so
depending on how they round out their roster.
Depending on what they do. So like, to me, I need to just go a totally different direction if I'm trading Luka. Like I need to go get probably Franz Wagner and firsts from Orlando, or like, do they offer Franz and Jalen Suggs? Frankly, like that is something that like we probably should talk about, right? Is you might get multiple really good young players. Houston probably offers you, I mean, like they put Amen Thompson on the table for this, and they put other of their great young players. Like, do they do Amen and Alperin? Was my question yesterday. They really might. Like, that's how good Luka is. This is the thing I'm writing for tomorrow at The Athletic, is literally just Luka Doncic has played 6 years in the NBA. This is his 7th season. Yeah. He has made first team all NBA in the last 5 of those years.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Russillo said this on the Simmons show last night. I don't care if he's walking down the court with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Like, the dude's unbelievable at basketball.
I found myself not caring about all, because that's the conversation too. Because you knew it was going to come out, right? Because the people that wanted to justify the trade, and even me when I was trying to justify it because I just wanted to try, was, oh, he comes in out of shape and all. And it's like, my biggest gripe with Luka is defensively. Like, I don't care what his body, he can weigh 300 pounds as long as he continues to get buckets. And his size is obviously part of why he's so good offensively. Yeah. The defensive stuff is my biggest thing with Luka, and why, like, I wouldn't call him the best player in the NBA. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I think the Hoop Collective had him one of like 5 guys with 5 first team all NBAs in the league right now, or something like that. Like him, Steph, KD, LeBron, Giannis. There's one other or something like that. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Like, like I said this last night, like Luka has a more historically relevant career in the NBA than Anthony Davis does already. Like through 6 years or whatever. Like Luka is just a better player than Anthony Davis has ever been. And is like, if their careers ended right now, like he's a more historically relevant guy that would like matter more in the context of the league's history at this point. That's what's crazy about this. And Anthony Davis, by the way, was like the super prospect of all super prospects in the 2010s, right? Like he's probably the best prospect of the 2010s, all due respect to Zion. He's come through on that, and Luka is still better.